Hey, looks like we are live. How is everybody doing today? Today we are doing part 7 of Michela, and we're just going to continue. We're going to do some boldness. We're going to start doing some color buffing in here in the face. I want it just a little bit lighter, so we're actually going to just go for it. That's what we're going to do. So nobody's here so far. That's okay. I will continue going. The show must go on, they say, right? So no worries whatsoever. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my zinc white and a little bit of that pyro orange. And we're going to make this happen. So let's see here. Hey Brad, how are you? Great to see you all the way from Manitoba, Canada. Patty, how's it going? All the way from Illinois. And we have Steve Leahy from Ohio. How are you, sir? And we have Mr. Dwayne Marshall from San Luis Obispo. Great to see you. Go Mustangs there, Dwayne. Not banana slugs. I'm always going to say that. And I have some, just one little tiny drop. I don't know if I'm even going to need a drop. That's right. Always, always. Love college football. I can't wait until late August. I see Notre Dame and the Wisconsin Badgers, the Clemson Tigers. Raul, how you doing? Great to see you. Great painting you got going over there, man. Really loving it, have to say. So what I'm going to do is, I have some sepia in my airbrush. I was working on something else earlier. So I am just going to clean this out the best I can. Little sepia isn't going to do too much damage here. So let's see. What I want to do is come back in and kind of unify this area. It's a little ununified, right? And I want to go ahead and kind of fix that. I'm going to put some airbrush medium in this mixture. I want it nice and thin. Okay, here goes. Oh yeah, got to put the airbrush medium in there. So about 10% airbrush medium. See that? Get that really good and mixed. And then what we're going to do is we're going to see how this sprays. If it's a little too much on the orange side, then we'll put a little bit of this in straight zinc white. So we'll see how it goes. It's nice and thin now. Nice and thin, like I wish I was. Okay, so, oh, very cool. That was a great painting of the Giants. Just really amazing. You really kicking butt over there, Mr. Raul. So I'm just going to make sure my airbrush is fully operational. There we go. Alright, so I think I'm going to test this out down by her arm and see what that does. Move this out of the way. Let's come over here. So right here, I want to lighten it. I want to lighten this area, but I don't want to make it pink, you know? And let's see. Okay, I think I'm getting what I'm liking. I was working with higher pressure before, so I'm going to lower my pack valve. Let's see. So just lightening this area, kind of unifying these shapes. Over here as well. And if I need to, I can come back in there. But what happens is sometimes when you're using the transparents, they tend to have a staining look about them. So you want to go ahead and kind of unify that and make it more feel like it's part of the... Oh, so let's see. Congratulations, Brad. What happened? Oh, yes. Tomorrow, Brad's officially retired. Wow. That is a big day. And he's going to become a full-time painter, so that's exciting, right, guys? And right here at the glabella, it is a little bit dark. So I'm going to use this zinc white, and the pyro orange mixture. See how I just have to be patient and chill, right? And if I want it super gradual, then I'm going to be a good distance. And I'm just going to calm it down slowly. See that? It's slowly calming down. Exactly, Dwayne. More time for fun, that's for sure. Now when I'm doing that, I want to be careful I don't hit this dark over here. Then you'll get a super blue shift. And you don't want that. Or I don't want that. Yeah. Wear those airbrushes out so you can buy more of them. Let's zoom out. And so basically I'm just looking to calm things down for my own taste. I'm not really thinking about the reference at this point. It's all my own flavor right now of what I feel like, you know, what I want accentuated, what I want calmed down. Then right here, I kind of want to unify this light and that light. I don't like when they're too different, even though that's the anatomy. I think it would look better if I unify that. So I'm going to be about 4 inches away because I don't want blotchiness. And being about 4 inches away is kind of ensure that I don't get specular highlights. And it keeps me from getting too wet too soon. Wow, Nameless, how you been? Haven't seen you in a while. Great to see you. How's everything, my friend? Ah, thank you, Nameless. Nameless says it's looking nice. I appreciate that. So right here, it's a little separated. So I'm just going to increase my distance and just kind of soften this up here. See how I soften that up with doing the buffering that color. Wow, so Nameless says he's busy with work and family stuff. Uncle just had a liver transplant, who also is the owner of the company. So, oh man. Well, I really pray for his fast recovery, my friend. And that you're not working too hard and you could airbrush more. Or you could work too hard on your airbrushing. That would be even better. Putting some more light on her nose there, and maybe a little bit of highlights right by her malar fat compartment right under her eyes. And like I said, I don't like this. It's a little harsh. I'm just going to soften this. Increasing my distance. And on this side, I want to bring this light over. Dwayne says he put in his due for 27 years as a commercial electrician and part-time painter till 7 years ago and went full-time airbrushing. Praise God, that's wonderful. Mr. Oz, all the way from the Atlanta area. How are you, my friend? Great to see you. So glad you're here. And, of course, Mr. Nameless Subscriber is from California, so that I know. And I believe Southern California, right? Is that correct? Oh, Nameless wants to know what I'm spraying. So currently I'm spraying golden fluid acrylics and high flow acrylics. Right now I'm spraying the zinc white, which is a transparent white with just one drop of the transparent pyrrole orange, both by golden. I'm using mostly the fluid acrylics, but switching back and forth from the fluid to some of the high flow. Very cool. So you see, I could lighten this up without getting a blue shift, and that's only possible because of painting with the complementary color of white, as well as using a transparent white. So I haven't airbrushed in color in a while, so I will get the kinks out, and they are slowly coming out. No pastels, my friend. I did an India ink underpainting, then worked, strictly in airbrush, and then I used some paintbrush technique and a little bit of color pencil technique in the small detail areas. Great question. Now with this, you have to be careful you don't go too, you got to be very careful you don't oversaturate, and you know what that means. That means that we're going to get spidering and all that fun stuff. But as you can see, I'm really getting back to the control. My last color portrait painting in airbrush and color is back in 2018. So that was a long time ago. Ah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, skin tone is not easy with airbrush, you know. It's a lot of layering. Well, I think it's just my technique. I'm pretty much a layering kind of guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten this, and I'm going to come back over that with a transparent, and that's going to allow me to, you know, kind of do that layering where you will lighten it up, you know, using this zinc white orange mixture, and then continue going over it with transparent. Repeat the process until you get exactly what you want. But as the stones say, you can't always get what you want, but maybe sometimes you get what you need. I'm not sure. Oh, wow. Yeah, you know, skin tones are, thank you, Nameless. I appreciate it. I'm an oil painter as well, and, you know, I'm painting in regular acrylics and pastel. So skin color is something I can do since I was like 14, 15. However, every medium has its own little language, so we have to really, it has its own language, so we definitely have to, you know, learn the language, learn the vocabulary. And let's see here, just go back here. Where's that correct screen? There we go. Okay. And just make sure airbrushes. Seems like my needle is getting stuck in the nozzle. Looks like there's definitely got to get one of those paint strainers, you know, that's very important. Okay. Even though I work very thin when it comes to acrylic and airbrush, very, very thin. So I have to, still I have to make sure that I go ahead and, you know, make sure I don't have paint, how do I say, don't have the paint actually drying in the nozzle. That's always fun. Let me just blow this out. Okay. We're going to blow this out. I'm going to wipe off this needle. I think that's an issue here. Let's see. Working in India ink as I do is really a pleasure in the sense that you don't deal with half the stuff that you would deal with, you know, working in color. Definitely. So where is my mixture. I have it here somewhere. Let's see. Here it is. Here we go. Put some more of that. It's a little on the thick side because when you're using the, you're going over layers, you want to kind of thicken up that paint a little bit. Just like if you're working in other mediums. Oh, so some questions from Nameless. Oh, Nameless says, cool, he's been waiting for me to use color for a while. And so Nameless says, by the way, Tim, do you have a Discord or some sites where your chatters can share their work with you? I finished a few projects since. Oh, cool. Well, Inkflingers, the group on Facebook, that's a good group. Hey Todd, how are you? So these are acrylics. India ink is, you know, my black and white stuff, of course, Nameless. Funny thing is about when you're painting in white over color, a lot of times it feels like you're not doing anything until you start spidering. You're like, oh yeah, something's coming out. I'm gonna work on this knuckle here. 1 second rule is always in effect. Let it build up, right? Just test it, make sure something's coming out, and then let it build up. You know, just be patient. So Mr. Leahy had a show in American Art Museum this past weekend. That's quite an honor. The Butler Museum of American Art, which is in Youngstown, Ohio, I believe. Pull this up a little bit. And what we want to do is kind of unify this by getting rid of some of the opacity that's on that arm. Let the white build up, let it catch up to it, do another layer, just like using the India inks. Oh, what brand of acrylics? Oh, okay, so yes, Nameless, I use the golden, the fluid acrylics, and if it's not the fluid acrylics, I'll go with the high flow acrylics. They're pretty much interchangeable. You just have to add 50-50 mix of the airbrush medium, right? And that will make your fluid acrylics into the high flow, which is really good. Oh, Mr. Leahy said he stood before my mentor. It was really impressive portrait of his. Oh man, yes, my teacher and mentor Harvey Dinnerstein, who I was in his studio for almost 4 years, and yeah, his work is really great in person. So yeah, Steve's got to have his painting right next to him. That's amazing. I wouldn't be half the artist I am today if it wasn't for Harvey. I just admired him so much as a kid, you know? I admire him so much as an adult. But what an opportunity that was to study with him and to have him take me under his wing amongst a bunch of students. A lot of people hated me. Too bad, too sad. I mean, it was a great opportunity and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So I got myself a bread machine and I am making my third loaf in 24 hours. I made a loaf of white bread. I made a loaf of French bread earlier. And now I'm making a second loaf of French bread. So pretty cool, right? It really is. Aw, thanks, Nameless. I love hanging out with you too. I appreciate that. So many pearls of wisdom Harvey gave me. One of the ones that stands out is he said, when you're painting, whatever you're painting, look at it with the eyes of someone who has never seen anything like this before, and look at it like this is the last thing you're going to see while you're alive. And he said when you do that, you'll really find the character of the model, or you know, whatever you're painting. And I just really carry that with me. Make sure it's coming out. So what's up there, Air Todd? How are you? Are you watching from the garage this week as well? Because I know you don't get too good reception there. So you see how I can lighten things up? And now I feel like I'm really getting control because I'm using this buffering going back and forth, and if I go too far, I can come back in with a transparent, which is really cool. So it's a lot of fun. It's scary, but a lot of fun. Never worry about what it looks like. Only worry about where you're going. You have to sacrifice what it is for what it can become. And now I'm going to paint like I don't care about the results. So right here it's a little bit lighter. So I'm going to actually come in with this same mixture in this lapel. And I'm going to see this one, you know, I'm getting back in the swing of things. I'm doing things that, you know, before when I was tentative I wouldn't do. I'm just going to use little boy's room. I'll be right back, guys. Oh, Patty, thank you so much. Have a great night. I really appreciate that. Yes, Harvey, a lot of pearls of wisdom. Be right back, guys. I'm back, guys. So one of the things I really, being back in working in color, I'm still doing my airbrush and India ink, so that's not going away. However, by working with this, you know, the acrylics actually gets in the nozzle. And if your nozzle does not have any rubber or anything like that, I like to put the metal pieces, the nozzle, the cap, and put that in some acetone for about 20 minutes. And that loosens everything up, and then I take an old needle and kind of get rid of any kind of clogs. So have you guys done that? It seems to work very well for me. And as you can see, you know, I'm being much more bold, and I'm able to do things, you know, without being tentative. See, now I'm starting to get a lot more movement and emotion even in the folds. And I'll go back and forth, you know, I'll come in with a lighter color and go back in a darker color. Yeah, acrylics is rough, you know. Will beat the heck out of your airbrush. But we just got to keep on it, right? That's the thing. And if it starts messing it up, you know, we just got to stop and assess and fix. Okay, so let's do this part of her lapel here. I'm just going to give it some dimension. And believe it or not, you see how I'm lightening it? And it's getting blue, but I want that. But I'm not getting a blue shift, so to speak. And I like going back and forth, so I'm not really worried about messing up or anything like that, because I know I can come back and forth. Oh yeah, that's right, that sharpened bamboo skewer. That's very smart, definitely. Probably much better than the metal airbrush needle, right? So you're probably right, guys. See, I learn from you guys all the time. No, you got some great thoughts there, Mr. Dwayne, so thank you always for sharing that. All you guys and girls, thank you for sharing your thoughts and your inspirations with little old me. I don't hold that in low esteem, I hold it in high esteem. And just like when I'm doing my airbrush and India inks, I don't care when it's done, just that it's good. But now she's starting to get that feeling of a coat, right? Not just this, you know, amorphous black thing. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so make sure, see, tip dry, right? So, you know, you have a whole new set of issues when you're working in airbrush and acrylics. and it's got to know the territory you're in. And you know, it is getting a little blue over here, so I'm going to come back over it another time with that warm gray, almost black, like a chromatic black. So when I'm working on folds, I like to think of what Angra did with his drawings. He did almost like a shorthand, where he does paint the folds, but he doesn't get exhaustive with the detail, right? It's not a major player. He'll give it some attention, it'll be accurate, but he'll downplay it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back with some black. Let's see, let's look at this over here. I don't have too much detail here, but I could come in with some white. What happens is that it seems like the paint gets stuck in that nozzle. And let's go ahead and wipe this needle. That seems to do the trick. I'm going to actually soak my airbrush nozzle in the acetone later. Okay, so let's put a little more. Once I run out, then I'm going to go ahead and do something else, but I have a little more of this mixture here. Like I said, I left it a little thick because I want it to be a little opaque. I could have kept it thin and then used the titanium white, but I already had the zinc white out. So, but let's say if I had the same mixture with titanium white and a little bit of the pyrrole orange and zinc white and a little bit of the pyrrole orange, the zinc white will be much more transparent, meaning that you can see through it, and the titanium white would cover it. So that's the main difference between those colors, you know. It's too bad there isn't an airbrush color that has lead white, because that has a very warm, transparent color, which zinc white is a cool, transparent color, but they don't make a lead white for airbrush. So if you don't want any kind of barbells or anything like that, always when you start spraying, make sure you're already moving. And then just do a dagger at the end. And I'm going to come back in with that nice, wonderful dark color. I think I'm going to go with a transparent dark, but we're kind of limited because, yes, I do have a transparent dark. I have the High Flow Really Cool. Let me show you this color. This is pretty exciting. It is a transparent black. So golden makes this transparent shading gray, and it's very, very transparent, and I like to use this when I just want to darken things up a little bit. This you can almost use straight out of the bottle. Out of the bottle. Okay, so we're gonna add some yeah, let's add a tiny bit of the airbrush medium. Just spread it out a little bit. It's really not thinning it as much as just extending it a little bit. Give a little better adhesion to the surface. And I don't want it too thin. So I have this white and I'm going to spray it out. But remember about when you're going over a color in your airbrush, when you're going over a light, and you have a light and then you go into black, you'll have a lot easier time because the black or the dark color, especially a zinc white, is going to dominate. It's going to be dominated by this transparent shading gray. That's what they call it. So whenever you're working on a painting, there's always something when you're working, you're just like, I wish I did that differently. But you cut your losses and you know, make a mental note and just say to yourself that I'm gonna work on not making that mistake in this painting. Okay, so let's get some texture in her face here. I'm going to lower this air pressure a lot, and then I'm just going to pump this trigger, and I want to get a little texture. And this is a little light, so I'm going to go about 6 inches away, and I'm just going to pump that trigger. It's transparent, so I can just dust that down, right? Here we go. Remember, you don't want to use a transparent when you want to do some covering, so don't worry about it. Don't try and do covering with a transparent. Transparent is just taking the information and either making it more like another color or darkening it. Just pump that trigger, do the 1 second rule, and sooner or later you're going to be getting some nice volume to that jacket. Nameless says, Dwayne, he's heard of bamboo, works very well. It's hard and sharp enough to scrape the paint off of Very true. I have a lot of chopsticks in the house, so would that work? Is chopsticks made out of bamboo? Make sure I don't get too wet, right? But just continue working this. Distance is so important. Can't hurt to have a little freehand shield action here. Let's work along that edge. Perpendicular, not parallel. Very cool. Very cool. Very great information, guys. And see if I can work on this edge here of her arm. Seems to be something going on right at the nozzle. But this wasn't happening earlier today. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the needle. I'll be right back, my friends. Let's see if this does it. Sometimes you know, your needle just might, I don't know, sometimes it just acts you know, I might have banged it or something. It's a possibility. So I'm going to weed out that possibility and see if another needle actually makes it better. So it's not the needle. So I'm going to take this extra needle and put that aside and go back to my other airbrush. I'm just going to give this a deep cleaning, guys, because I don't believe continuing with an airbrush that's not working properly. Be right back. Okay, so while we're here, I can show you how to put together an Extreme Patriot arrow. That is not an easy thing to do. They're a little more difficult than other airbrushes to put together. So here we go. Thanks for waiting, whoever's still here. People are like, Tim, that's the best live stream I've seen you do in a while. I like to try and get rid of any excess water in the body. Okay. So, first thing I like to do is take care of that whole trigger thing. So, as you see with the Extreme Patriot arrow, the this needle guide as a trigger guide and the trigger, they're disconnected. So the trick, if there is one, just put it over here and lean it back, because you want it kind of sitting back, right? So I have it leaned back, so I have it tilted. Now we're going to put in the airbrush. We're going to move it until we find the spring that is in the air valve, and then I'm going to tilt it forward so that needle guide kind of fits and falls right there. You'll see it right there, kind of falls flush to that. Now here's the tricky part. Is that we're going to put this in. So I'm going to stay about a little bit lower than level here. And what I have to do is I have to make sure that this spring is lined up with where the chucking nut goes. Now I'm level, right? Because I don't want that little piece of metal falling back or forward. I'll zoom out. And you see I have that spring action. And we'll go, and we'll just slowly tighten it, make sure we still have that spring action. We have the spring action and the trigger. You see we have the tension of the trigger. So that's what we wanted. Now this is my technique for putting in the needle. We all have our own techniques. What I like to do is, let me get some. This is chapstick you can get from the dollar store, which is really good, and I use that right around the edge here. And make sure you get the one that doesn't have a scent, because the ones with scents have like oils in them. Even though your airbrush will smell like cherries, there's a chance you get oils you don't want. So you just put it, you know, lightly around the threads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to put it through the airbrush. It's a little stiff here, so later I may have to go and kind of loosen that needle packing. Pretty sure that's what I'm going to have to do. And so now what I do here is I take my nozzle and I kind of follow the needle, pull back on that needle to where the nozzle is sitting where it's supposed to, and then I'll put the needle all the way forward. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and screw back on my head assembly. Now if you're new to Extreme Patriot Arrow, it's not going to be that easy, but I do this probably about 3 times a week, so that's why I'm having a little easy go at it. So let me just get pliers, which I can't find right here. Let's see. Where are they? Who knows? I have some in the kitchen. Oh, here they go. Here we go. So when you tighten it, you don't want it to be super tight, you know. There we go. And you don't press down too hard. You don't want to damage the metal. Okay, so now I think we're in good shape. Let's see. Feels good so far. Okay, did I miss any questions? Let's see. Many years ago, I ruined the nozzle with the needle cleaning it, and then on the use of bamboo skewers, and one lasts for the ages. So cool. You know, you're right. It might be. It definitely wasn't. So you were correct, Nameless. It wasn't the needle. So that was a good assessment. So we're still going to come in with that. So let's see if this fixed it. We're still going to come in with this dark color and see how it goes. Hey James, how you doing? Well, the thing is, I only, oh, okay. So yeah, there's a lot of schools of thought on that, James, definitely. So, okay, here we go, guys. We are back in business. So never, when your airbrush is not working, never continue it, right? Just fix it, make sure it's operational, or change your airbrush. But now it's working really great. Good, that very good information there, James. Thank you. How you doing, James? Good to see you. Oh, that's a good idea, right, James? Just have a live stream and just have silence, right? And people are like, something's happening, right? Waiting for the drama, James. But yeah, a lot of people, you know, they don't like it when they feel you shouldn't pull the needle out from the back. And that's a good school of thought. But now the needles work. And that's not the needle. The airbrush is working really well. And the problem was something was in the nozzle. I had to clean that out. Just like hair with folds, you have to stick with it, right? That's the important thing. Oh, thank you, James. I'm glad you're doing well, and thank you for the wonderful compliment on the artwork. Thank you, sir. Great info, guys. Let's do our freehand shield here. We'll crawl along the surface. Funny, I was going to leave the jacket very simple, but working on the jacket really is making this portrait a lot better. I'm going to raise that air pressure a little bit. Pack valve. And let's do some freehand shielding here. Says Tim, what are your thoughts on pan pastels? I have a set coming tomorrow. Pan pastels they're an okay product. I like them. I think you're going to have fun with them, but I think it's limiting. I wouldn't. So how big of a set are you getting, Oz? They're good to use with other pastels, but not by themselves. $40 colors. Okay, I think you'll have a lot of fun with them, but don't use them only because it's very one-dimensional. So it's good to use them maybe in about 15 to 20% of your paintings. And the pan pastels were really good. It'll give you a nice sense of soft qualities, but you're still going to have to use your pastel sticks and your pastel pencils along with that, and I think that would work great. But I'm glad you're getting that, so that's cool. Is it a birthday present, or are you just a present for yourself, or a late Father's Day present? Present to yourself. The kids are stingy. Sometimes they are, that's for sure. Well, I'm glad you got that gift for yourself. You deserve it, my friend. If you have any questions with pastels, shoot me an email. I have like 35 years experience in it. Pumping that trigger, getting a little bit of texture here. See what kind of ink paint situation we have here. Okay, we've got to put in more paint. Very cool. Let's put in some more paint. And then we'll finish up working on the jacket and we'll go work somewhere else. Whoa, just got a little spillage here. what we got going here. I'm going to basically put this airbrush to bed and get another one in a moment. There we go. So you see how I'm just pulling everything back, and I can come back in with that orange color and just work these values back and forth till I get that texture I'm looking for. But after this, I'm going to switch airbrushes, you know that. Okay, so I'm really liking the texture that I'm getting right now. Okay. Over here. Oh, let's say here, so Nameless says, where do you buy your marble dust mixture? I've used a homemade mixture of starch glue and paint for gesso. Yeah, so as Brad says, I have my own mixture that was handed down from Harvey's teacher to me to, so I use marble dust and water and acrylic. So I use Blick waterproof acrylic gesso. That's really great, so highly recommend that. That would be wonderful for you if you were able to get your hands on something like that. So highly recommend that. And let's see if we can get another airbrush going today. And let's get that other airbrush loaded. Okay, so I'm going to use the Omni 4000. So I'm just going to put this one aside, keep that for the black or that transparent dark. And let's see what, oh, so Mr. Dwayne uses Liquitex Basic Gesso and tint if needed, but rarely use gesso. Oh, cool, okay. Nameless says, yes, but where can we get the marble dust? Marble dust is really rare now. You used to be able to get it at Pearl. Well, Pearl's not in existence. You used to be able to get it at Blick, but I think there's a shortage. Check it out and see if you're able to purchase it at Blick. I think it's like $8 for like a 4-pound bag or something like that. But it is difficult to get, without a doubt. Okay, so let's see, where can we work now? Let's take a look. So I'm happy with what we did with the jacket there. And let's see. Okay, let's work on the gold of her bracelet there. And I'm going to mix that up, and we're going to do some paintbrush techniques, which are always fun. Alright, so gold looks like it's raw sienna. See guys, raw sienna by Fluid Acrylics. Let's pour a little bit of that out. See how thick that comes out? So we're looking at raw sienna and I think raw umber. So let's look at some raw umber. I know it's here. Just have to locate it. I have a big bottle of raw umber. I may have to use Van Dyke Brown, but I'd much rather use raw umber. There it is. Found it. Thank goodness. Raw umber, Fluid Acrylics. Yeah, Blick is really. I think there's something to do with the war. I think a lot of the limestone came from the Ukraine area. It's horrible. It really is. So I'm just going to do this mixture of raw umber and raw sienna. So did you guys know that raw umber and raw sienna are the same pigment? It just is one's heated more, you know, but it's the same pigment. I'm pretty sure of that. Maybe I'm thinking of burnt umber or burnt sienna and raw sienna. No, no, raw umber and raw sienna are different colors. Raw sienna and burnt sienna are the same pigment, as well as burnt umber and raw umber. So don't listen to me. Okay, so I have the dark, and now I'm going to be working on the yellowish quality. So that's probably going to be yellow ochre. A lot of people will say that yellow ochre is similar to raw sienna, but no, they're not even in the same ballpark in my opinion. Nameless says he's used baby powder and it works fairly well. Wow. The only thing you have to worry about with anything that you use on your art is to check the pH level. So you want the pH level to be between 8 and 6 for it to be a neutral. Otherwise, it's going to give you problems, and over the while, it's going to start eating into your painting substrate. Let's see, a little bit of yellow ochre, and that really is the color that I'm looking for. And I'm going to water this bad boy down a little bit. Not too much because we're not spraying it through the airbrush. Now I love to have this little cheap painting knife, not using it for anything but mixing colors, airbrush colors that is. Anything goes when you're painting. Don't let anything stop you. Anything goes. Okay, so now let's zoom on in. over. Now, yellow ochre is I believe yellow ochre is a opaque. So your opaque is going to cover for you. It's going to give you nice coverage, and that's what you want. So if I was using a transparent here, like a nickel azo yellow or something like that, it would no longer cover. But you want to cover that color underneath. So you want an opaque. Okay. Now we can take this raw umber color. Probably going to have to go over this again when it dries, but I can establish the shape of this necklace bracelet. And then when it erases, when it dries, we'll do some cool erasing techniques. So we established that, and we'll zoom out, and then we'll come back to that, of course. And then we could look for some more hairs over here. Anything that we missed last week. I know we started doing hairs. So now I have this yellow ochre, and I can come in there with the yellow ochre. So if you're a righty, you always want to have your test paper on the right side, so this way you're not going across your painting every time you want to load the brush. Let's see. Steve, have a great night, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I appreciate the compliment and the encouragement. Take care, sir. Always a pleasure. It's always cool to see Mr. Steve Leahy. Always learn so much from his live streams, so definitely check it out Monday on Facebook at 6, and I know he does several live streams a week on his YouTube channel, so definitely check out there. Very, very interesting and timely techniques he shares. So following him is going to up your airbrush game, trust me. And let's see. Okay, so let's move on over to this wonderful raw umber color we have, and see if we could use that maybe on the eyebrows here. You know, remember that dark we had? Let's go ahead and mix some of this color, the shading gray, with some of this raw umber, and maybe that'll give us something that we could use for some details in her face. So that would be great. Gonna see if I can move over to her eyes here. Dwayne says he catches great little tidbits from Steve all the time. Same with you, Tim. Thank you, sir. When you stop learning is when we stop breathing. Exactly, my friend. That's what makes us all really good airbrush artists, because we're always learning, right? Always looking for better ways to do it, and just staying open for that, right? You have to stay open for those ideas. Okay. See if I could just dust the underside of her lower eyelid here. So Dwayne says he tries to learn new stuff and push the envelope with every work piece he does, no matter how complex or simple. Yes. You know, it's like we have to do, right? We have to do the paintings that scare us, and also the paintings that just say practice all over them, right? We have to do both. And because we do just the, you know, real complex ones, we won't experiment because we're worried about, you know, getting the complexity right and being precious about it. But if we also have small sketches going and stuff like that, that's when we can, you know, push that envelope and have a little more of a reckless abandon, which we do need, right? We need that reckless abandon as well. I mean, so when you have acrylic and you're using paintbrushes, always have water and get rid of the excess water. So you don't want it to be sitting there and in that, with that acrylic, and having it dry on there. That would be very bad, guys. Yeah, so true, Dwayne, definitely. And Todd says, sorry, been back and forth, net is acting up. Always good to see you, Mr. Air Todd. So thanks for coming by. I hope your internet resolves itself. So this raw umber here is a very transparent. Raw umber is not a transparent color, but it's acting like one right now. Yeah, raw umber, as you can see, is a opaque, probably a semi-opaque. Yeah, it looks like it's a semi-opaque. So you have opaque and transparent. So a semi-transparent leans towards the transparency of it, and the semi-opaque leans towards the opacity. So, and there's different degrees of that. So that's how you read your paint tubes. And that information is really good because it'll tell you what you can do or not do with that paint. So, you know, always look at that. Remember, you want to mix a transparent with a transparent, or an opaque with an opaque, and you'll get your best results when you're mixing. And now now I'm just going to just do some detail here and there on her eyes. So when you're working on a painting, you just got to keep fighting, right? Just keep going. Don't let anything slow you down. Don't get discouraged. Just keep fighting. About the shadow on the underside of the lower eyelid. So when you're working as well, you want to make sure you're always looking at the whole picture, right? Don't get stuck in details. See, very, very cool. And let's keep moving around. Okay, so this eyebrow here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, like I said, I'm going to take some of this burnt umber and mix it with, raw umber with this transparent gray. I'm going to get a dark color, and we're just going to push those, get her eyebrows the right value. We can work on her nostrils here. So the next pastel painting is going to be a lot of fun. So, not pastel, the next airbrush painting we're going to do. It's going to be more complex as I get back in the swing of things. And Naylor says after all this time it still pains him that it's necessary to use other tools like paintbrush for details. Always, you know, you use whatever you can to make it better, you know. Not sure, but I have some ideas. It's going to be a little complex, but it's going to be fun and a learning experience for me and for you guys. So that's something to look forward to. Okay, so let's see, what else can we work on here? Here's something interesting. I'm going to use some razor blade techniques. Let's make this happen. Remember, you want to get rid of all the acrylic that's in your paintbrush, because you leave it in there, it will kill your paintbrush dead. So you don't want that to happen. So razor blade, right? So, okay, off to the side here. There's some space just above her ear. Let's see. Okay. It's hard to see with the glare, but I am making some negative space here using my razor blade. You don't want to dig past the gesso underneath, right? You definitely don't want to do that. Let's see, there's no glare when I zoom out. Okay. Let's come over here. Erasing techniques here and there, or razor blade techniques I should say. And then over here, like I said, you want to be careful you don't scrape past the gesso. You just want to get to that gesso layer underneath. So I'm going to scratch it, and then I'm going to come back and dust over it. So we get some of those hairs going into her scalp. Right over here, it looks harsh. The thing is, you want to make sure you get the direction of the hair. Let's see if I'm missing it. Hey, Harrier 39, how you doing? What kind of table lamp is that? Well, basically, I use 2 studio lights, and I bounce them off the ceiling, and that's pretty much what I use, Harrier. It's pretty cool. Good to see you. Where are you from? What city? I always try and link the person with the location. So I'm so glad you're here. Hey Tone, how you doing? Great to see you, brother. How's everything? Yeah, so the thing is that yeah, they kind of monetize some of the live streams now. So uh, let's see now. We can come down here and let's see if we can. You know what? I don't think this is the right brush for it, but let's see. Let me come back over here. Okay. Oh, Longmont, Colorado. That's so cool. Beautiful over there, Harriet. That is so neat. Tone says he's hanging in there. He's going to open up a booth in a flea market and go back to being a full-time artist, as you should, my friend. And I am praying that you have so many sales that you wouldn't want to not be a full-time artist, you know? So that's what I'm praying for you, because you are a very, very good artist, and that's what you're meant to do. So I'm going to go back to my Cotman, and let's see if we can get some of these really interesting hairs here. So I am using the raw umber again. Oh, anytime, sir, anytime. Oh, Harriet says, God bless you. I hope it gets better. It goes better than expected. Oh, you hear that? That's great. Thanks, Harriet. So, some good thoughts being sent your way there, Tone. Just like when I'm working in my Airbrush and India inks, I still take my time with the hair. It's a cumulative thing, right? Ooh, while I'm here, I'm going to zoom in on her bottom eyelid here. Little by little you're getting there. Like I said, it's something you stick with, you know? Where's that dark? So I'll mix the combination of that transparent gray and more umber. We'll get some of these little eyelashes here. Just make sure they're not equidistant in the same size, because then they look fake. So eyelashes have to taper. And you can see sometimes it just doesn't look right. You just wipe it off. Later in the painting, if you don't like the way it looks, you can just wipe it off, because it kind of sits on the surface there. hair coming down here. Pull up. Now right here, you see it's a little light, a little dark, right? So I want to kind of calm that down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Omni 1000, and let's hope it is spraying well for me today. Let's see. Okay, so where is, there we go. Remember that what we had, which was the Pyrrole Orange and the Zinc White. Let's mix that really well, because a lot of times the medium might separate, and then you're left with something that's not going to adhere, right? You need enough paint so it sticks to your surface. Like I said, this is my first airbrush painting portrait in color since 2018. So the next one and the next one are going to be me being back in business. Alright, so I want to calm this down. It's a little too dark, so let's see what happens. Make sure I'm getting a spray. We are. Lower the air pressure a little bit. See, I'm just calming that down. Let that dry. Wow, Dwayne, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. Thank you always for your great compliments and your wonderful support. I really appreciate that, sir. Always, always, always. Your encouragement is just food for the soul. Thank you, sir. And Harriet noticed that I only, if you look at one eye, that each eye almost has a different expression. Do you find that most people have that kind of asymmetrical expression of the eyes? Sometimes. I might be off a little bit, so that's something to think about. I think, you know, it's hard to catch, right, Harrier? So thanks, thanks for that insight. It's always great to get a second look, you know. So I'm definitely going to look at that. When you look at the paintings of like Bronzino, a lot of times when they paint like aristocracy, they always had one eye kind of doing its own thing, and I thought that was interesting, but I wasn't doing that on purpose. So I'm going to re-look at this and see. So notice that I'm coming back and forth here. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to come back in it and then go ahead and continue until I actually have that lighter than what I want, you know? I mean lighter, that's what I want. And I am building the white in her face, which is important, because before, when I was putting the white in, it was getting on the pink side, but now as I'm layering the zinc white and the Pyrrole Orange, now I'm able to get a white as if I was painting with white itself, which is really good, and I'm starting to get that glow in her face. And of course I'm going to come back there and, oh, thank you, I appreciate that, Harriet. But it's always important to look at our work, right, and always listen to our friends. So thank you for that point of view, definitely. And Dwayne says Wednesday night is one of his favorite nights and looks forward to it, spending time with you and the gang. Thanks, Dwayne. Same here, you know. You guys are my friends. You guys and girls are my friends. Nothing less. And I look forward to seeing you guys and girls so much. So notice as I go over it more and more, it'll cover. So I just have to be patient with that. So I'm just going to let that dry and go over it again until I have it covered. And you know, it is a lot of patience airbrushing portraits. You know, getting the layers that you want. It does take time. And don't be afraid to push the envelope, right? To see how far you can take it. Get too wet, you can just wipe it off at this stage. Okay, so now I want to come back with some, you know what I think I'm going to use? I think I'm going to come in with some sepia I have mixed. And that would be fun to see what kind of effect we would get. So I had some sepia mixed from before. Let's put some in here. Let's see what it does. That's starting to look pretty good. Just a little bit right there, and then over here I'll probably come in with a lot warmer color. Oh, Harriet says they don't have symmetrical eyes. Neither do I. I haven't had symmetrical eyes since I was in college. Just going to try and simplify this shape here. Wow, this Omni 8000 is working really splendidly. Okay. Let's bring this down here. Cool that off there. And we are almost at 11:30, guys. Oh, Tone says this is a great paper. No, this is actually masonite that is mixed with marble dust and gesso. And from there, you know, I sanded it down. I do about 4 or 5 coats, and then from there I do my line drawing. I do the underpainting in India ink still in black and white, and then come back, go over it in color as I'm doing now. And Todd says she's looking good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So even though I had a little blue shift there, it's okay in this late stage because I can just set it up for coming in with some sepia, and then I'll come in with some kind of warm flesh tint over here. So that will work. And so next week we're just gonna finish it up, and whatever we don't do, I'll do off camera. And then a week after that we'll start our next portrait. And it's going to be another color one, and then after that I'll go back to black and white, and I'll kind of switch back and forth. What do you guys like better? Do you like the black and whites better than the color, or you like the color? Just a quick survey. What do you guys think? Just working on the bracelet a little bit. Oh, cool. Do a feed for each. That's a good idea. Definitely, Tone. So I'm going to get rid of the sepia. And little bonus moment here. I have reddish color here. We'll see how this goes. It's like working in pastel, you know, you put down a tone. If it doesn't work, then you just wipe it off and see that, and I got the tone back that I was looking for. So when you're working with the, buffering the colors, you just keep working back and forth, because you can always buffer it down with white, come back, and keep doing it until you have the desired flesh. You know, the unified skin tones that you're looking for. And Brad says, I just like watching you paint, color of black and white. Thanks, Brad. And Harriet says, which do you find more complicated, color? In airbrush, yes, because the airbrush colors, they get clogged because the airbrush is not designed for acrylic. So it just technically, it's not optimal because you have tip dry and all these other problems. And so that's why. But when I'm using my Airbrush India inks, it's basically made out of shellac, carbon, and water. So it's very thin, and you don't have half of the problems that you have when working in color and airbrush. But it's fun, right? That's why we do it. So that's good. And oh, Todd says both. That's cool. As far as he wants to see the color and black and white. Okay, while I'm here, let me dust her lips with this deep red transparent color I have. Ah, this is good. So little bonus time kind of helped me out because now I can get a little definition on her lips there, which I have been waiting to work on. So this Omni is really working well right now. It's just kind of dialed in. And like I said, at this point you can just scratch it down, just wipe it off. So I can go over, go back, go over, go back, which is really cool. I can erase. So there's a lot going on now. See, I did the sepia, going back and forth. That's a little hot right there. See how that got really hot? So I have to calm that down. So I just noticed that. So that's something. So what I would do is once that's fully dry, I would go over it with that zinc white and orange mixture and kind of blow it out and then come back in with a less crazy color right there. And same thing over here. That's a little too strong, but that's why you go back and forth and keep playing with it. Okay guys, thanks so much for hanging out. I'm gonna go see how my French bread is baking. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great week, and thank you always. And Dwayne, thank you for the super chat, sir. Always a pleasure and an honor. So have a great week, guys. Email me if you have any questions. Take care.